Okay, so I think we can start now. So, uh, based on what we did last time, we tried to see that we're able to create a React application. And there are two things I want us to, there are major things I want us to do today. We just want to brush through all this, and so that the next class will start squarely. So, in React, before we talk about React, I want us to talk about ES6, and in the EX6 we talk about classes, we talk about arrow functions. We know about variable before, and just some methods, then the structuring, spread operator, then the module, then ternary operators. So let's quickly brush through them so that we understand what they represent, because whenever we are working with a React application, we are going to make reference to them. Now, this is not just about React. This is a pure JavaScript. So that is why if anybody asks you, do you know how to use JavaScript? You say yes, because this, like all these arrow function, has nothing to do with React. This is pure JavaScript. We just want to us to understand that. Now, let me create something. I don't even have a directory yet. Let's see. I say no. I just want to pick something to work with. ES6 demo. No, okay. Let's create. Let me go and create a folder inside that JavaScript. So let me create a directory here. Let me call it ES6 demo. Now this ES6 demo, I can go to the application directly to open it. I have to just navigate to the application. Navigate from the, I think it's in React JS. So let me use this so that I will show us some of the functionality that we need to do. This is our project directory. Let's say ES6 uh, demo.js. We want to name it JS. And in our previous example, we are used to having something like this. Let's say we want to have a function. Uh, we want to have a function. For example, we used to have a product. Let's say we want to create an object called a product. We can say product. We can say is equal to this. And then we will now say, okay, the name. Here when we are passing, we need to pass the name of the product there. We need to pass the name of the product. Uh, we can pass the name as let's say we say rice. Uh, we can say price. Let's say 200. Let me remove the code from here. We can say um, we can say what do we call it? We can say okay, quantity. We can say 30. So now, if we want to print this, all we need to do is we used to say, let's okay, we want to print the price. We say console.log product dot price, right? So this one will give us the price for our product. Let me see. So let me open it in a terminal. So let me run it and say node es6 demo.js. You see, it will give us 200. But now, if we want to update the product, we can say product dot name or dot price is equal to 5,000, right? So we can console log dot product dot price again, so that we want to see the new price. It was 200 before. We change it here at this line to 5,000. We print it again. The current price is now 5,000. Now, most importantly, this product, uh, this product, let's change this one to unit price, right? Let's say, okay, this is unit price. That means here we have this, we have this. So this is an object, right? This is an object that we create. But when we talked about class is more helpful. Let's say we want to turn this one into what? A class now. And when we are talking about class, in a class, it is not necessary that we need to pass all this value to it directly. We can actually create the class, and our class can act functions, as many functions as possible. Now, let's say we want to turn this one to a class now. So all we need to do is we say class, we can call it product. So we now have opening and brace, close. We say class, we give it a name, class product. Now, if we want to initialize this with value, right? With value, with certain value, we can actually do that and say, okay, we can say constructor, all we need to say, we say name. We say name, we say unit price, we say quantity. So we can now say this dot we can say this dot name is equal to name, right? This dot unit price is equal to unit price, right? This dot quantity is equal to quantity. This is how we create a class. We are just trying to say, whenever you create this class, a class now have member variable name, unit price, and what? Quantity. Please, let's change something. Let me call this one a product name. Let me call it price, and let me call it product QTY. So that means if you say product name, you are saying is equal to what? This. Price, you are saying is equal to what? This. And product quantity, you are saying is equal to this. Now, if you want to call this, if you want to call this product now, what we are saying is, let's see how we are going to call it. You can create an object that will hold it as a class. You can now say, okay, let me try to comment this. I can say product is equal to new product. So this is where I'm going to pass the right value to it. I can say this is right. I can say, okay, this is the unit price is 200. The product quantity, let's say, is 50. So if I want to get unit price, it's still the same thing. I say, okay, console.log product dot what? Name. It's still the same thing as a console.log product dot unit price. I want us to take note that I want us to take note of something. Also dot log product quantity. So now the actual member of this product are what? Name, unit price, and the quantity. Oh, sorry, we can say, oh, sorry, QTY. We can say unit price. So the actual member of this class is what? Name, unit price, and quantity. Take note that is actually different from here. So what we are saying is this. We have what we call constructor. So, and the constructor is that whenever you need a new product, you use new operator to create it. You say new product. And when you say new product, you pass the actual value to it. You know, this one are just representative of the value you pass with. But what we are now saying is, whatever name you pass to it, we equate it to be equal to what? Name. Whatever price you pass to it, we equate it to be equal to what? Unit price. Whatever you pass to this quantity, we equate it to be equal to what? QTY. So now, when we run it, let's try to run and see what is happening. Can you see rice? Can you see quantity 200? Now, take note, this class, this class, this class, take note now, this class has nothing to do with if I decide that I don't want to, if we decide that, okay, whenever we call this class, it is not necessary for us to pass something, but we are coming to that. But what I just want us to know is we can still have this dot, let's say, brand, right? Let's say this does brand, right? But you know, let's try to print something here. You see that our constructor did not have anything like a brand, right? Did not have anything like brand. But I can come here and say product dot brand is equal to down go go to let's say console dot what log product dot what brand. Let's see what will happen. Can you see it? Which means that our brand is not part of our constructor, right? It is not part of our constructor. See, if we decide that, okay, let's try to say we pass brand to it. Let's see what will happen. It will throw an error because this is not part of constructor. It doesn't even, it is just taking it, but there is no any recognition for it. Do we get it? So now, the number of the item we want to expose in the constructor, those are the one we put inside this opening and close bracket. And if there is any other member of the class, so we just need to do it this way. So and it gave us much flexibility than just say this is an object, right? Now we have a class, it's a class here. When we now say class product is equal to new product, it becomes an object here. So from the class we can create an object. So now if we are working in another file, let's say we are working in another file, let's say we have another file, we have a test.demo. We can actually go ahead to import we can reuse this product. We don't need to create it again. Now let me look at it now. I can say constant product 2 is equal to new product, decide to pass something there again, bins, right? I can pass 300, I can pass 120 to it. So let's say I want to print the price. I can say product 2 dot what unit price. You see, in this object, you don't have such a flexibility. The only thing you can do is you have to say this object is equal to, if you want to do it, assuming this is the one you want to use, you have to say is equal to new, and then you will now begin to put colon, 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 colon. But with class, you can just create it and just pass whatever you want to pass to it and still continue working. Now, if I want to work, I can say, okay, can you see now? Let me say, let's put a break something to be able to, let's say, okay, printing from the second class. Can you see? So that we know that, okay, this value is for the what? The second class. So a class enables us to create a reusable object, because this is another object here. This is another what? Object here. If I want to do it in a normal way, let me say I want to create an object in the normal way. I'll say constant product 3 is equal to, I have to do it this way. I will now begin to say, let's say, okay, name, I will pass a what? Beans to it, right? I will now say, okay, what again? Unit price, right? I will pass maybe 300 to it, right? Uh, what again? Quantity, I will pass 120 to it. So you see, I have to be repeating this curly brace and be putting name and key value pair if I'm using normal native object. This one I'm creating the object directly. But you see, I can just say product, since I know that the name of the object is what? Product. You understand? And I can hold down the control and over it so that I'll be able to just pass the value to it. You understand? Now, this is one flexibility. You are aware that we used to have functions. I used to have function. You see, this is the opening brace of the class. If you look at the class, this is the opening brace. This is the closing brace. So in a class will have constructor and it can have as many methods as possible. Do we get it? A class can have a constructor and it can have as many methods as what? Possible. So that means it can have as many functions as what? Possible. So most of the time when I'm talking about a method, I'm still talking about function. So now, when we are working in a normal environment, in our class, we can still come, look at it. This is the constructor. This is the starting point of the constructor. Starting point of the constructor. This is the end point for the what? Constructor, because of this curly brace. So I can go to the ends of one and create a function here. Let's say I want to create a function that, let's say now, I want to create a function that return the amount for the product, right? Please take note, something I need to explain here. When you are saying this, it's the same thing as a product, sorry, it's the same thing as a product. You understand? It's the same thing as a product. You see, this represents the product itself. Do we get it? So instead, when you are inside the product, like now, this is the opening brace of the product, this is the closing brace of the product. So every code you write here is inside the product. So instead of saying product, so you can just use this to refer to the product. These are the members of the product, that a product has what? A name, unit price. Please don't take a look at this, right? Just consider what you have in the left hand side, that these are the real members of the product. Because let's say we pass a product name here. Let's see what will happen instead of the name. Let's see, you see what will happen. You see, it's telling us what? Undefined. Do we get it? Now it's telling us undefined because now the members of the product are this one and this, and what? This. These are just what you want to use as a constructor. You can use any name for it, but these are the names that matter, so that when you create a product, when you want to refer to the product, you refer to this one in the left hand side. Now I can come down. Let's say we want to have a function that return the cost. You understand? That return the cost. The cost will now be that return the amount. The amount will be unit price multiplied by what? Quantity, right? You know, in a real sense, we can say we can come here, we can create another one. We can come here, let's say we come here, I can create constant, I can say amount, right? I can say is equal to product dot unit price multiplied by product dot what? Quantity, right? I can console log amount. Let me put concatenate it because it's total amount. So let's try to do something. You see, total amount is what? 1000, right? Which is correct, right? But you see, if I want to calculate amount for the second product now, I have to come here again and say, okay, amount 2. I'll give it a different a different name. I can say, okay, amount 2, right? Let me say amount 2. Let me open it. So you see, this is the first amount, right? Right? This is the second amount. And let's remember that this guy, we need to change it back to name instead of product name because there is no such constructor like that. Now, when you now look at this, instead of us to be repeating code, calculate this, calculate what again? We are repeating code. So that is why a class can actually have as many functions as possible. Let's say we have a function here that's okay, get amount. That is the name of the function, right? Let's say get amount. When you are inside the class, right? You don't really have to say function, right? But if you want to create function outside the class, let's say the function want to stand by itself, not that it's under anybody. That's when you use what? Function. You say get amount, right? Now, but a function that we want to create inside the class, you just use the name of the function directly. You don't have to give it like a function, right? You don't have to do that. Let's say get amount, we want to return what? We want to return is the same calculation we did here. But instead of saying this, we are now saying this dot unit price and this dot what? So which means that we are returning the price that is available for this, and we are returning what? This quantity. So now here, instead of us saying that calculate the amount, we can just say product dot what? Get amount, right? We can come here again and remove this code uh, and say what? Product 2 dot what? Get amount. You see, we have the function here. So when we print it, we still get amount, we get amount. So that means Our function, our class have what? A constructor, and it has one what? One method. Do we get it? I think we should ask a question if you want to ask a question here before we proceed. So do we have question here? Okay. So this is what this one is saying, that we have a constructor. You see, they say this one is confusing because they actually have explained it the way it should. And you can have method, you see it, and then let's say uh, that is one. Now let's give another example. Let me give further example and say uh, data.js. You know, in when you are working with a lot of data, you used to have the parent, you used to have a child, you used to have a lot of data with relationship. Let's say, like now we can say human being, right? We can say human being. Let's create a cluster, say human being. Human, is it human being? Let's say okay, human being. Is it correct? Now, a human we have a name, right? So now let's create a constructor for it that oh, this person will have what? A name. Because I want to explain what we call inheritance, right? I want to explain what we call what? Inheritance. So that we'll be able to understand what it represents. So I can say this dot name, right? Do you get it? I can say this dot name, right? We can say okay, this dot what? Name. Human will have name. What again can we give to every human that is now? Okay, now let's say we from the human now, let's say we have another class. We call it man, right? We want to have a constructor for man. We want to say okay, uh gender, right? We say this dot what? Gender is equal to what? Let's say gender, right? But when you are working, you know, I told you here you can be GD, right? You can be GD, right? So what matter most is the name to the left, right? But most of the time you can just make everything to be the same thing so that you don't have to bother about the whole stuff. Now, if you are now working, there are cases where you want to borrow some attribute from the other class that has been defined. There are cases where you want to borrow some attribute. You know, like now, this human being already have what we call what? A name. We don't want to repeat it. So we use what we call extends. So we can extend human being. So when we are saying extending human being, it means that we will inherit the property or and the methods of the human being. Okay, let's say hello. We have a function we create here. we say console.log hello, we say this dot what name, right? That means whatever name I pass to this, I can pass a name to it, right? So here I can say that so now let's do something. I want to explain something. Let me now say constant man is equal to new what man, right? Let me pass a gender to it. Let me say me. Okay, or let's say let me pass a gender to it. Let me call it what a male, right? I can say, let me say man dot what name is equal to Oyejide, right? This name doesn't exist on man, right? But because man extends human, right? Because human has what a name, and what we are saying is take the constructor of what the parent class that you extend and inherit it. Inherit, this is what we call what? This is what we call inheritance. So now, I can say, okay, man dot say hello, right? In man, there is no say hello function there. Let's create another one, this thing, say, okay, get greeting. Let's say console.log welcome to JavaScript tutorial. Now I can still say man dot what get greeting. So this one will say, what will this one give us? This one will say hello based on what we have here, right? But this second function will say it will still give us what we have what here. Now there are times that you know that you want to have some things that are common to every other classes. So you create a super class, a parent class that have that common function or common attribute. Every other class will now extend it. Now this class that we call human is a parent to what? A man. Is a super class to what? A man. And this class, a man, is a child of what? This human being. Now, this class, we call it a super class. Super class. This one, we call it a child what? Class. Or we say a derived class. So when they are talking about super class, child class, so this is what we are saying. Now, for example, let's try to run this guy, data.js. Oh, sorry, node data.js. Can we see it? The first one say what? Hello. The second one say what? Welcome to what? JavaScript. Right? Do you know the most important thing here is this? If my constructor, let's say I put name here, right? And I say this dot what? Name is equal to what? Okay, let's say full name, right? I will say this dot is equal to what? Name. But if I pass this name here, which means that I can come here and pass a name here. So and still remove this one, because my constructor already said that whatever I pass here as what name, it is what super will take as what its own name. So that if I still go ahead to print, I'm still going to have welcome. Can you see? Can you see? You say hello. You say hello on what? Undefined. Why do we have hello undefined? I don't want to. Okay, let me just refer it so that I think I'm going to take that the next time so that I'm not going to uh, stop what we have already understand at this stage. So this is a class. Now let me give an instance. For example, when you are working, most importantly, you will interact with class, you will interact with object, you will interact with class. So and you still need to know how all these things are being structured. When you have you are working with let's say animal, right? You can have a class called what? Animal. A animal. Any property you know a animal will have, you can actually put it here. Animal will have a name. It will have it can have so many things. And one of the animal, you can have another class that will now say, okay, a cow. So a cow can now extend what? Extend what? Animal. See, if you have any function here, if you have any function here, if you have any function here you define, your cow will be able to what? Inherit it. So we are going to come to a stage whereby when you need something, you have to group it. Related functions, your related function, you put them in the parent class so that when you need it in different classes, you can actually extend the parent class and use them as if you define them within that class. Let me give you an example here. Let's take a look at this, that here, like here, this is a man. You see, we are using this method of say hello as if we define it within the opening brace and closing brace of a man class. But it gave us the flexibility because we extend human, so we will be able to inherit all the properties of human, both the constructor and the method. So when we are talking about inheritance is ability of a child class, for example, this one, to inherit the property of the parent class. And when we are talking about the property of the parent class, we're talking about the function and the members of the class and the constructor, everything. So whenever you are working, most importantly, this parent will usually have a related code, called a shareable code or a shareable functions that you know you want to use over and over again. And you can go ahead. It's possible that your function, your this thing will not have, but as you work, you understand better. And that is what they are talking about when you see inheritance. It is part of ES6 features. It is part of ES6 features. And another thing I want us to talk about is these arrow functions. Outside the class, if we want to create a class, we may not need to use, let's say arrow function dot get. Now, if you want to create a function outside the class, we say class. Let's say the name of our function is CLO. We can create a function that takes parameter, right? Let's say you take the name of the person. Let's say person name, right? We can say console dot what log, let's say welcome person name, right? If you want to call it, you say okay, say hello, let's say this. So let's try to say node arrow, this arrow func.js. I think our name is wrong, right? I think let me rename it and give it a short name. Uh, let me just say r. Let me say node r.js. You see, it actually print what welcome. Now, if you don't want to write it this way, we let me comment this. We can actually use arrow function. In the arrow function, you have this. You can say hello, say hello. You can have something like this. You can say console.log welcome, right? It will take a parameter, right? Person name. You can say welcome person name. You see, this is arrow function. And if you don't want to do it, if you have multiple stuff, you can actually do it this way and put it this way. So instead of putting this function, say hello, or this is another way to write it. You can have a constant, the name of the function, and then you pass open and close bracket, which is the same thing as this, and then you can open your brace and begin to write your code. So you see, it will still work if we run it. Can you see? But this is what we call what arrow. This is what we call the arrow function. You may want to say, uh, this is what we call arrow function. So let's say, okay, we want to write a function that say, okay, get a greeting. Let's say we want to say, okay, console.log welcome to JavaScript tutorial, right? It's the same thing as writing. If you want to write it in arrow function, let me comment it. I have to say constant get, take note, I'm going to say get greeting. I'm going to put open and close bracket, put this symbol, then this. So we want to convert it to arrow function. It's still the same thing as this, right? It's the same thing as this. So that's what the arrow, it has nothing to do with any, it's just another way of writing a function. It's another way of writing a function. So maybe we have to stop here, but I want us to actually go through other one. This variable, we know how to use variable before. This arrow, this one, this spread operator, this module, because we will use this, we will use them over and over and again. You understand? This is what they are saying. This is what they are talking about. If you want to return something, uh, you use this. So I think let's stop here so that next time, the next class, we will try as much as possible to cover this variable to these ternary operators. So if you cover this week, then we can start with going with interacting with component one after the other. So if we have any question, please let us ask here.